We're seeing you in this beautiful, poignant new film that I think a lot of people are really going to love, Where the Crawdads Sing. Was Jodie something that you auditioned for?
So yeah, it was. I initially auditioned for a different character in the film, and then they came back around with Jodie. So yeah, I did audition for it.
Was there something about the film itself or this character that really made you want to be a part of it?
Um, I actually didn't know too much about the film and the story and the book and whatnot until kind of the audition process started. And then obviously the more I dug into it and, started to realize how like worldwide, how popular it was worldwide, I was just hoping to have some type of part in it.
Were you familiar then with any of your co-stars before working with them?
Yeah, of course, Daisy slightly, and there's a few others that just when you start to dig, you're like, oh yeah, that person from that, stuff like that. So, but I think Daisy was the most prominent, and the one that I knew.
Sorry, there's landscaping people that, of course, just happen to be right behind my home the minute we start doing this interview. So, I'm sorry, just give me a minute, and I don't know
No,
if you
it's
can hear
okay.
that.
I can't hear it at all, actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
um, I'm so. I know you mentioned that you are familiar with a couple people on this, at least, or their names. Were you looking forward to sharing a scene then with someone in particular, or someone's in particular?
Yeah, I mean, I got extremely lucky. And, my biggest scenes are with Daisy. I mean, obviously, Kaya and Jodie had such a important relationship, and it's such a great part of the entire story. And then, to kind of realize that Daisy was the one that I was going to be able to work with, it was slightly intimidating, but at the same time, too, very excited. So it worked out really well in that sense.
Did you then spend a little bit of time pre-filming with Daisy to sort of flesh out that bond and connection the two of you share on screen?
Unfortunately, I had zero time to make that happen. It worked out in the way that we actually had our biggest scene together the very first day that I was on set. And that was the very first point in time that I was able to meet her. We had a smaller scene in the morning, which, at least we were able to get comfortable with each other a little bit in that smaller scene, because it was just a very like touchy moment that we had in the first scene. And then, she is actually wonderful in the sense that I think any like worries or nervousness or anything like that I had coming up that day really just kind of disappeared when I started to talk to her. She's such a sweet, sweet person. And we were able to connect pretty instantly with some of the things that we have in common and whatnot. So it actually wasn't very difficult, thankfully.
There are some very poignant moments throughout the entire film, and the two of you share some beautiful scenes together. Was there any advice, though, that Olivia Newman, the director, gave you while you were filming that you really took to heart?
Yeah, I was lucky in the sense that Olivia and I were able to have a conversation and talk a little bit before I actually landed on set that first day. And it was mostly just talking through the idea of who Jodie is as a person. I think that I was very lucky that I have a lot of similarities in myself with Jodie. So I think that kind of shined through in my audition process. So that when Olivia and I started talking about it, I was like, yes, totally. Like, I know what that is. And it was actually a really quick connection that I think that we were both very much on the same page when we started. So it was easy in that sense.
Good. Well, I did say that there were a lot of great scenes in this film, and I think a lot of people are really going to be amazed by all of the people who did such beautiful work on it. Were there some moments you found more memorable for you or more challenging for you?
I think the biggest scene that I had with Daisy and my biggest scene in the movie, it was a combination of so many things in terms of landing on set for the first day and getting to meet everyone and then kind of being thrown into it, that it was memorable in the sense that I first saw our childhood home, and the way that they made this home so real and lifelike to what I imagined in the book was just amazing. And it made my job even easier because I was able to sit there and be like, oh, this is even more, this is more details than I could have even imagined myself. So it was easy in that sense. And then, it was a tough scene that Daisy and I had to shoot together because it was a rather emotional scene. And some of the things that we were talking about were very deep. And just to work through that and to kind of hit those different moments correctly, there was some ironing out that took place, but I think that we both had the same end goal in mind, and with Olivia there too, we were able to get it to where it needed to be for the scene.
When it came to those intense moments, how did you shake off then a long day of filming?
Oh man,
You have to do some of those scenes multiple times, and it's very intense and very
yeah,
authentic.
yeah, and people don't realize that, the number of twists and turns, and, the camera has to get both sides, and then, you're flipping an entire room, and it's not one of those things where you walk in and it's like, oh, this is easy. Like, hang on one second, we'll shoot this whole thing, in 30 minutes. It's, you sit there and you shoot one angle and then you flip the entire room. But in the process of them flipping the entire room, they have to put the entire house back together the way it was, looking the opposite direction, which is so much more than people realize in terms of the movie making magic that takes place. So, I think that I was lucky also in the sense that I did shoot it on that first day, because there was a little bit of an adrenaline high that was going on. So I think I didn't have to muster too much energy, thankfully, because I just was so excited to finally be there and be a part of it, that it luckily came easy that day.
Yeah, I don't think that people realize how many takes you have to do, and you have to give your entire being to them every single time to make good movie magic. And so I really think it's harder than people realize. I think, like you get it in one, I don't know if they think you get it in one take, but maybe you do it and they think like it takes 15 minutes or something. And then you're like, onto a happier scene. No, you're there for hours because lighting, and you have to get the perfect
Absolutely.
take from your angle and her angle and everything. So I'm really excited to see how that scene plays out when the movie comes out here shortly, which you are a part of social media. Are you excited that you're going to be getting this big fan reaction here shortly to an iconic book?
I mean, I think that those type of things are just kind of like the residual effects of being a part of these things. I don't know if it's necessarily something that I outright strive for, but I think that, like I
You
said, it's
look
just kind of,
forward to.
yeah. I mean, and I don't look at it as a negative thing at all. I think that really what it is I really just want to do the character and the story justice when I'm doing my work. And if, I'm able to accomplish that, I think those other things will come along with all of it. But I think just to strive for, some type of following or whatever it is, I think when your goal is that, you're missing the things that get you to that point. You're missing the quality work that creates that following. So like I said, I really just hope that I did it all justice and that everybody's happy with the end result.
I think you're going to be ready more for people telling you, here's this GIF and this moment I really liked and things like that. So I think you might be a little safer than you think you are.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, it's, as human beings, we're very self-conscious. So I think watching myself up there is going to be hard no matter what. I think I could probably give a phenomenal performance and I'm still going to sit there and say, that looks a little odd, whatever I did there, just because I am that way. So I'm really going to try to just sit back and enjoy it. And I'm sure with friends and family and everything else, I'll probably see it 5-10 times.
And you love every moment of watching yourself every single time.
Right.
What's next for you? What have you been busy working on lately then?
Yeah, so I think it's at this point in time, there's a couple things that are up in the air that I'm trying to work through. And some of my goals are obviously larger character arcs and just something a little bit even meatier than what Jodie was. I think that as an actor we all want to live out a character for as long as we possibly can, and I'm just really, I have my eye on some some larger roles and some bigger projects that are going to give me the opportunity to do that.
Well, we're seeing you also though in Blackbird coming out here shortly. That's a pretty one. That's a pretty big one, I should say.
Yeah, and I'm very lucky in the sense that both Crawdads and Blackbird look phenomenal from what I've been able to see of everything. And Blackbird, I was talking to someone and they were saying they're like, it's scary, and I was like, yeah, I think that movie, overall it's going to be a very, very intense limited series, but it's exciting too. I kind of got to play the fun part of it, but the overall storyline is pretty intense.
I mean, Taron Egerton, Ray Liotta, I mean, Greg Kinnear, you got to work with some pretty big names. So I'm pretty sure that there's lots of bigger media roles to come for you, Logan. I think
I
there's big
hope.
things on the horizon.
Yeah, I really hope so. It's been great. Some of, like you said, some of the names that I've had the ability to work with and really just to be on set and learn from has been phenomenal over the last year or two. That I'm very, very thankful, and I only want more opportunities.
What would you like to say then to the people who are fans and supporters of the work that you've done so far on our screens?
I think really it goes just back to, just enjoying it. I hope that I am able to do those characters and the different roles that I'm able to play justice. And I think that, if they're enjoying me, then, I think my opportunities will continue. But at the end of the day, like quality work and really digging deep and just, finding interesting characters and interesting quirks about these people is the best thing that I can do. And I hope that they see that as well through my performances.